this is Jorge here.
Hi,
You said Atua. Atua. Okay, we can't get the shoes in the shot, but I have to ask, you have shoes with toes. What's the motivation behind that?
We have a client that has shoes like this, so I wanted them.
Nice.
So my wife bought them.
Are they like cool or are they kind of hot?
They make me kind of feel like I'm back home in Hawaii. Barefoot.
Oh, okay. Nice. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, why are you out here today? What are you doing? You're on the side of the street getting honked at. Some people are cussing and flipping you off. What's going on?
Well, for me, this is like it really affects me because this life that I live is the same life that we're fighting against. I lived as a transgender, a homosexual man, bisexual. I lived as a prostitute. I was a drug addict. So this, when I see they're attacking our children, it affects me a lot because I've been there and God turned my life around.
Wow, so you lived that life for a while.
I did, yes I did. And so for me, my mom was my prayer warrior, because my mom never gave up on me. No matter how many people came up to my mom and told her that I was a lost cause, is what everybody said I was. My mom said, no, I serve a big God. My son's coming home. My son's coming home.
So, what changed your mind from that lifestyle, or was it rapid, or what happened? How'd you change?
Oh,
from all that?
I sparrowed so far, but I would always continually talk with my mom, almost like every day or once a week, and so mom would always pray for me. I would tell her stop praying because it's not happening, but she continued to pray for me. My dad was another story. My dad was like, you out of here, buddy, you out of here.
Wow. So you said you lived as a transgender. What did that mean to you? I mean, we don't need all the personal details, but what made you decide to live that way, and what did that mean? Can you show that to the camera?
That was me. So I had took hormones. I had breasts. I lived as a woman, and for I want to say 13 years. But I thought I was doing the right thing. I always felt like God made a mistake in my life. I always felt like I had to correct something that God had done. But God don't make mistakes. He knows what He's doing. But the life that I live, for me, it's not like I'm proud of what I did, but I'm glad that God can take what I did and turn it around and say to those that are going through what I've been through, that there is hope, and Jesus is hope. Jesus is the only hope.
Wow. So how many years did you live that life?
13 years.
13 years as a woman?
13 years as a woman.
Wow.
I'm 56 now, but I am telling you the best news. My wife, we celebrated 22 years of marriage.
Awesome.
22 years on July 8th. My wife, we got married, and she's the best. Second best thing that ever happened to me.
Very cool. So a lot of people say that transitioning, to the opposite gender or whatever, they say that is going to bring, peace, like they have this inner turmoil. So when you were living as a woman, did you think did that have an effect? Did you feel happier from how you were before when you had that kind of dysphoric type feeling?
Well, I think what it is, I got into drugs, and when I'm saying drugs, like heavy drugs. And so the whole time that I lived as a woman, it was to pay for my drug habits. So everything that I did was to pay for my drug habits. And so there was not a day that I was sober. And if I did, I would kind of like just sleep on the street. I would sleep in the streets, sleep at park. I wasn't homeless. I could have gone home, but because I wanted to live this life that I felt I was so right and I was determined to live. And so that's what happened to me until I just knew every day my mom would always tell me, she said, son, come to church. And for me, that was like the last place I want to be in, is in church, because I felt like I didn't feel the love. I felt like that's not where I need to be right now. But every time she would hang up the phone, she would pray for me, and she would say, "Son, come to church." So she would continue to pray for me all the time.
Wow. Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something here. I think your testimony is amazing. I want to ask you, what do you think was that turning point? What made you say, you know what, I'm wrong? What was that moment? What happened?
Okay. Well, so it just got to, sometimes, I don't know if, as all drug addicts, we get to the point where, you get so high that you're chasing nothing, You're just chasing another high that you'll never get. But for me, because I knew that that God was, even if I was doing everything that I was doing with my friends, when they did what they were doing, they felt nothing. I knew what I was doing was wrong. I knew I was living in sin, that the Bible said the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ. I knew that, but I continued on. So the conviction kept louder and louder and louder, until finally I said yes to my mom. I said, "Mom, I'm going to come to church, but as I want to come. I want to come like how I want to come. Don't tell me to dress or to look." And so
And what did she say to that?
she said, "Come." She said, "Just come." So I did, and I went on Sunday. I went to church, and I walked. And the pastor's wife always sits in the front, and so I went up, and you can hear whispers like, "That's the pastor's son," "That's the pastor's son." And so I could easily just turn around and walk out the door, but I said no. So I sat by my mom, and my mom was praying. She opened her eyes, she looked at me, and she didn't say one word. "Why you look like that? Why you dressed like that?" Why? She looked at me, she said, "You made it." She said, "You made it, son." And it was that right there, that love of God that I saw in my mom. And it's that love that, it didn't matter where I was, how I was living, but he reached down there, he said, "No, I love you. I want you home." And so right there, I felt like this is more. But I was still wanting to live my life. I didn't want to give everything. I wanted to come, okay. I said, "I'm going to go to church, but I'm going to come my way. I'm going to do it my way." But, every day was like God saying, "No, I want all of you or none of you." So one day I decided I was going to go to cut off all my hair, turn my life around. So the night before, I asked the Lord, I said, "Lord, I am so confused, but I want to give my life to you. And I ask you, Lord, help me to be the man that you called me to be. And I will serve you for the rest of my life." So the next day I went and I cut off all my hair. My mom was in the car. I came out of the barbershop, and she looked at me and she said, "Son, God answered Mommy's prayers." And I said, "Mom, what do you mean?" She said, "People would tell me he's a lost cause," but my mom said, "No, I serve a big God. One day my son is coming home, and here I am. I was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, and now I see."
Wow. So tomorrow we're gonna be at the Pride Parade. We're gonna be asking some questions. If we, come across some kids, I don't know. I guess I'd probably have to have parental permission or something to record kids. But even if it's not on video, if I just happen to have a conversation, with some 15-year-old kid that's considering, coming to the Children's Hospital and getting surgery, what would you have to say to them, or what would you ask them?
Well, I would say to them, it doesn't matter, what, for me, sometimes we feel that to get an operation will bring you happiness. To do, this full change will bring you happiness. I have a lot of friends. I live in this lifestyle for so many years. So I have friends that have operations, and they regret. Some of them killed themselves. They just shot themselves, and so some of them would tell me. I don't know if I can say this on.
Sure, say whatever you want.
Okay. cool. So a lot of them, they would have operations, but it's like it's gone. There's nothing there. It's just for the women, a man changing his thing to become a woman, and then for like a woman coming up. As a man, they have to inject themselves to get an erection. I mean, for me, I'm as someone that experienced and have seen that, it doesn't bring you joy. So for me, I feel like telling the children the truth. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth." There is no other way. I am the way, the truth, and the life. So if we don't tell the truth, Jesus is the only way, then we can't reach the children. The thing I have to say this about Pastor Hank Kuhneman, I love him. My wife and I, we love him. My mom, I love my mom. She was raw, My dad was like, you're gonna live that lifestyle. You ain't coming in here. You're gonna, that's hell is your home. I mean, he would preach about it, and he would tell me, he said, "You know what, son? I'm sorry, but I have to tell them the truth. I can't hold back, because if I don't tell them the truth, it's gonna fall on me." And so I like that. You have to be blunt. You have to let people know. You have to let the Bible, like I said, the Bible is the wages of sin is death. So I think, but there is a loving way, but truth. Telling them with the truth.
That seems to be the theme we're coming across when I ask people, what would you tell the folks down at the Pride Parade that we're going to tomorrow? They keep saying Jesus.
Yes. Yeah, he said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me." There is no other way, but only through Jesus Christ.
Oh, very cool.
I only have 2 last questions for you. First of all, your mom sounds like an amazing woman.
She sounds pretty cool.
Yes, she does. Sounds great. One of them, let's talk about parents. I mean, you mentioned your father was a little bit on the other end of the spectrum and whatnot. Do you think if people who want to be transgender, mostly like teenagers and children, if they had someone like your mother, do you think that would make a bigger impact over maybe having parents that are, "Oh, get out of my house. I don't want to see you ever again until you change your lifestyle"?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, because my wife and I, we have a hair salon back home in Washington. So I share my testimony with my clients, and so they would tell me about their children. They would tell me about their nephew, their niece, and they would always ask me, what do I do? How can I? Hearing your testimony is amazing. But I would just tell them, just love them. You love them and you pray. You get on your knees and pray. And like what Pastor was saying, if you don't know what to say, speak in tongue. Let the Lord know that, Lord, I want his life. I want him to turn his life around. And I'm so grateful too to my parents, because growing up in the church, they dedicated us. So I truly believe that the hand of God, yes, I made a lot of mistakes, but the hand of God was still upon me. It didn't matter where I was, he was still there with me,
Awesome. No, thank you. And the final question, you were mentioning that inside you knew there was conviction, there was something wrong, yet you still desired to do those things. Do you believe that these other transgenders, or people considering transgenderism, are people that know that it's wrong but they still want to do so? Or do you really think there are some that are just so lost and really think this is right?
Yeah, like you said, both. There's 2 different people that some, they believe that this is how they were born. And they would always tell me that I was born that way. No, you were not. You were not born that way. If you were born that way, we would have been still living in life. But no, we were not born. God created a man. He created a woman. So what I want to say to all of those kids that are growing up and thinking that they need to live in this lifestyle, for me, just an encouragement. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. The Bible says, what profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? This life, this body, this is just temporary. We have a life, everlasting life. And so for me, I would just encourage, brothers and sisters in Christ that, hey, pray about it, tell your parents about it, and they can also pray about, what's going on, how you feeling, because it's always, that's where the enemy comes, it's right here. And the Bible says, don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That this is where the playground, where the enemy comes and he tells the kids, and then you have these people that are feeding on and saying that, it's okay to have that at that age, at this age. No, but this is where we need to pray about their mind, their mindset, and not feeling that, okay, this is right, this is not right. That they will know and bring them to church. Bring them to church. Let them be rooted. Let them know who Jesus really is. He's not boring. He's a great God. He loves them.
What would you say, is it all right if I take this one, Jorge? What would you say to parents that are, they hear that and they say, I'm trying, I'm doing that, I'm trying, I'm taking them to church, I'm telling them about Jesus, but they're in public school, or they're in the, that there's just, the shows they're watching is getting to them, and it seems like nothing I'm doing is speaking that truth into their lives. Do you have any advice for that battle?
Well, like I am so grateful that I had a mom that never stopped praying for me. She could have just gave up and said, nah. If there's something that's going on in your family, you see it that is not to be in this house, and you just said, no, in the name of Jesus, you gotta go. You get out of here. And so right there and then, you confront the problem. You let the child know that this is not right. And then you pray with the child right there and then.
Do you think parents should pull their kids out of public schools?
Can I really say?
Say whatever you want, brother.
Yeah.
This is a free speech zone.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think?
And then we have a school over here at our church, so bring them over there.
What church you go to?
Lord of Hosts.
Lord of Hosts in Omaha, Nebraska. If you need a school for your kids.
Nebraska.
What about this is going to go out to the YouTube world, so folks that aren't in Omaha, they don't have those types of options. Do you think parents in general are capable enough, have enough time to homeschool their own kids or get together and get some sort of a homeschool group going on? Do you think they're capable of that, or is that just too tough for most parents to overcome?
Well, nothing is impossible. I want to bring up the business with my wife and I. When we started our hair salon, we opened our salon, no money, we had nothing, but we believe, we trust, we serve a big God, and we knew that he was going to come through for us, and we opened a salon. For 13 years we had a hair salon, and so my daughter took over. She took over the salon. But if you trust that God, and you pray and you ask God, he will turn, or he will direct, and he will bring people. We had a person, we didn't even know, we just met him at church. He came and he did the construction of the whole salon. We didn't even have to pay anything. And then we had a plumber that came and fixed the plumbing in our salon. So I truly believe that we serve a big God.
You on? Good. Cool. Hi. What's your name?
My name's Allie French.
Allie, nice to meet you. I'm
Nice to
Dustin.
meet you. Nice
This
to meet you,
is
Dustin.
Jorge.
Hi, Jorge.
Allie.
Good
Cool.
to meet you.
So what's up? What are you out here for today?
Well, I am out here answering a call to action from our community. I lead Nebraskans Against Government Overreach, and we had a group of concerned citizens reach out to us asking us to support their efforts in protesting against the methods and protocols and recommendations being made by children's hospitals and other hospitals local to the area.
So what are those recommendations and protocols that are going on?
Well, in this case right now, they are advocating for what they refer to as Pride Youth. And if you were to take a look at the Children's Hospital website just a couple weeks ago, before they purged their website, which you can go check out on Nebraskans Against Government Overreach, because of course we took screenshots before it got deleted.
Nice.
And You know, they talk about doing and promoting transgender surgeries, hormone therapies, different sorts of regimens, and they talk about the transgender surgeries are interesting, and we actually got a response from Children's Hospital when we called them out on this issue, and they said we don't do transgender surgeries.
Really?
The problem is that they do. First of all, they had it on their website that they do breast tucks, so they'll eliminate breasts. But when it comes to removal of genitalia, yes, they don't do the cutting and the slicing and the dicing in this building. They send them over to UNMC.
Okay.
So
why aren't we at UNMC?
Well, we have been at UNMC. UNMC, it has absolutely been a place that we've protested in the past. We've talked about their participation with the Communist Chinese Party. They've actually been partnered with them since the late 80s, early 90s. And that's why they have a sister hospital right outside Wuhan, China. And when you have a building in China, you are required to have CCP representation on your board.
Wow.
It's why.
So, is that very common for American hospitals or medical centers, as far as you know?
Some more than others. UNMC prides themselves in their partnership with China. In fact, they often bring nationalist doctors over to UNMC to work here on occasion. And in 2020, following the mask mandates that came down in Omaha, there was actually a Chinese doctor that was arrested by the FBI here in Omaha.
What for?
They never said. They told us they'd come back with a report, and it never happened.
Okay. So we said we'd talk about preferred pronouns.
Yeah.
Should they be legally mandated?
They shouldn't be legally mandated. Nothing should be mandated. Mandates are...
Nothing?
Nothing should be mandated.
What if I killed him?
Well, that's not a mandate. That's a law. Mandates are
Okay.
laws.
Should we make it a law that you have to use people's preferred pronouns?
No.
Why not?
Because people can grow a pair.
A pair of what? No, I'm just kidding.
Right?
Just kidding.
No,
Well, what about they say, well, it's violence. I mean, like, if you call someone something they're not, that hurts and it sucks and it makes it hard to live. So don't we generally make things like that illegal or not?
You know what's amazing about this country? We have the right to be stupid, and we also have the right not to care. And the fact of the matter is, if people want to go and be weird and have differences, they have all right to do so. Go do that with your friends, whatever. If somebody says he and you want to be she, then tell them, and they might say, I'm sorry, my bad. But the fact of the matter is, we don't get to mandate niceness. We don't get to mandate kindness. Some people are jerks. Unfortunately.
That person just said F you. They weren't very
Right?
nice.
They weren't very nice. And the thing is, we can be respectful. We can be kind. But we don't get to mandate it. We don't get to make it a law. And people have to remember that we are only responsible for the reactions of ourselves. I unfortunately can't make you feel or do anything. That is entirely your decision.
But isn't it violence to call me something I don't want to be called?
I don't know. Do you feel harmed if I called you a tomato?
That's I mean, that's the claim is
Right?
you call me a tomato enough times and it's going to be violent. I guess is the claim.
That sounds like bullying. So we're outlawing bullying. But the problem with that is that it's only bullying when one side of the equation deems so. I can remember when we were at Papillion La Vista High School standing up for the children against the mask mandates, and we had a couple of students that just of their own volition came over and joined us. They were so very grateful to have adults from their community standing up for them against the mask mandates. And then next thing we know, we have a group of students who once were not the empowered students, but the mask that they were given and the virtue signaling that they'd been empowered to participate in, they walked over and they bullied those other students in front of us, other adults, other teachers. They, for some reason, decided that because the boy wasn't wearing a mask, he must like dick in the mouth. Excuse my language. It has nothing to do with science.
So maybe we should have prevented them legally from doing that to you guys.
Which part?
Bullying you guys, coming and bullying the kids and making it hard for you guys to be there and be a positive presence. Maybe we should have made that illegal for them to protect you guys.
Well,
I'm gonna move this walker because I don't know what's going on here.
we are kind of shifting, aren't we? And that's an interesting situation. I mean, we have to take into consideration that people can be sensitive about all sorts of things. The boys who got told that they must be gay because they weren't wearing a mask, they didn't care. They chose to laugh it off. They chose to ignore the inciting behavior of the individuals who, for one reason or another, thought they were on a higher moral ground. And the only reason that they felt that way is because they had been indoctrinated by their schools and the media to do so.
Wouldn't it make the world a better place if it was illegal for them to come and say, you guys are gay? I mean, it'd make the world a nicer place. Maybe we should do that?
Well, okay, let's take a real life example. Children's Hospital, okay? They actually have a rule that if the staff does not ask a patient their preferred pronoun, they will be written up. Does that sound fair? Is that eliminating bullying? What about the patients who get offended for being asked? Isn't that still now an issue? So how can we force people to do something if I'm going to be offended if you ask me? Would you please just assume when I am, and we'll go from there. If you get it wrong, I'm just going to ignore it. I have had people assume that I'm a dude over the phone or over email or whatnot because I come across assertive. Right?
A little bit.
A little
but
bit.
Since you're in person, I wouldn't confuse you for a dude.
In person, you wouldn't confuse me, but the fact of the matter is, I choose not to let it bother me if somebody does get it wrong. I have lots of women who spell my name wrong. Some people get very offended if you spell their name wrong. Okay.
Yeah, they do. Well, that kind of starts to answer my next question. I was going to ask, what do we do about bullying if we can't make it illegal?
We do what we've been doing, and we teach the golden rule. Do unto others as you would do to yourself. Teach people to be respectful. Teach people to be kind, but you don't get to force it. And when people are rude and mean, it's like I tell my son, okay? If you constantly beat up your friends aren't going to want to play with you anymore. Well, guess what? Society has the same obligation. And if there are individuals and people and entities that are participating in activities or saying things that society doesn't agree is morally just, then they will feel the pressure from that. They will suffer the consequences. Society has that ability. It's not the government's job to protect us. Society can handle curbing the direction that we want to go.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking about asking whether you think it sort of seems like almost like we're getting to a point where we feel like we need to make everything that's bad illegal, like legalizing morality almost, is that?
Yes, you're actually totally spot on. That's what they're doing, and we see this all the time. They've decided, much of our government has decided that if it's not explicitly written, then it doesn't exist, that there is no protection, which isn't actually the case. Our Constitution grants us much broader protections than they would like to admit to, but we have watered them down with over 3,000 pages of analysis and interpretation that we can now utilize the way that our Constitution and laws are written. We see it all the time in the courtroom. You can take 5 people and they'll all interpret it differently. Right?
I've seen people do that in Bible studies.
Absolutely. People do it with the Bible. People do it with history books, right? Their interpretation is everything.
But they meant something when they wrote it, the people who wrote it. So there's how many interpretations we talking?
Oh, well, it depends.
Real interpretations of.
So if you look at our government today, they are operating under a constitution that is over 3,000 pages, including the interpretations, analysis, and Supreme Court rulings.
You know a lot about this stuff. I don't.
I do. I do.
Nice. I'm glad we have you.
So, but if you take a look, there's also, when we patriots talk about the Constitution, we're typically talking about a document that's only 34 pages long. However, the amended Constitution, which is what our government argues in the courtroom, is typically about 94 pages is what they typically print out in the little booklets. So the fact of the matter is, it depends on who you're talking to, what we're dealing with.
So do you think there's at all and I don't mean to lead you with my questions. These are just thoughts that are coming up. So it's not so much a question, just give me your thoughts on what I'm about to say. So do you think part of this whole, we're taking where it's not everything that ought to be the case, we want to have it come out of laws. Do you think that might be a result of we're getting less spiritual or less religious as a society, and so when you become sort of detached from God, from the Bible, from whatever, where do you go? It's like, well, gosh, I guess it should be illegal if it's, I don't have really a morality now, so I suppose I just need to have things to be in the law. Is there anything to that, do you think?
So you want to know something really amazing about our country? We have a Declaration of Independence. And in our Declaration of Independence, the entire meaning of the document was actually to grant us our sovereignty, our freedoms. And they recognized that we have two types of freedoms and that they were granted to us by God. And that when Jesus sacrificed his son, when Jesus was sacrificed, his son was sacrificed.
We've heard that before from other people.
Okay, that he granted us, he made it so that he could inscribe his laws on each of our own hearts. And that was actually the purpose of the Declaration of Independence, was that each man, every man, is governed by God and not by other man. And so that is actually where our freedom of religion and our right to conscience comes from. And it's why we don't need the laws that we need. And if we have our faith, if we are guided by God, if we allow God to write his laws on our hearts, then the government doesn't need to interfere.
Are you a Christian?
I am.
Have you read the Bible or the Constitution more? Be honest.
Constitution.
Somehow I got the feeling.
More recently.
It is shorter.
More recently.
So
I've definitely said, well, it's not shorter. When you get to the interpretations, analysis, and Supreme Court rulings, they're probably about the same.
Have you read all those?
I've read most of them.
Who are you?
I've also.
I just want to say I don't think I've even read the original Constitution or any of the additional amendments. So
You could knock the Constitution out in the morning and the amendments out the next morning. Easy.
I've also read the entire Nebraska state constitution and most of our statutory codes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yes.
Did you have something else, or you're just
I'm just amazed at the amount of stuff that I'm learning about the Constitution and whatnot. So.
Yeah, this is a smart chick. So do you think, this is kind of our big question that's on our minds, we haven't asked it much yet. Can the Bible and the LGBT plus movement be reconciled, do you think? As in, can you kind of hold them both in your head at the same time?
So, and yes and no. So here's the thing. It's a sin. What the acts that they participate in is a sin. That is a fact. But Jesus also hangs out with sinners. He hung out with whores and he hung out with criminals and he sat down and he broke bread with them, and he didn't judge them. He led them to Christ through talking about showing them that this is the way that you want your life to be. And that's actually, honestly, what we spend a vast majority of our time doing as we raise awareness, whether it be against the sexualization of the children in our communities, whether it be against medical mandates. We have... Oh, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
Well, you said it's yes, it can be reconciled, and no, it can be reconciled. I feel like I heard the no part. And the yes part is?
And the yes part is that by going and speaking and being around anybody and everybody, showing them that a life in faith in Jesus Christ is a happy one, is a good one, is one that maybe they want for themselves. And oftentimes, and I know that we've heard testimony from others, many of them are brought into this movement or that agenda because of friends, or because of social media, or because of news media, or whatever it may be. And it wasn't because of their own personal beliefs and faith. And I do believe that we do get to be friends, we do get to be in each other's lives, and that it's the responsibility of Christians to stand up and support them moving in and out of faith, but moving into a Christian faith.
So you can support the people, but do you think you can support the ideology? Like, I believe, the LGBT plus ideology, transitioning is a viable option, homosexual lifestyle, nothing is wrong with that. Can you hold all of that stuff in your head and all of the biblical claims in your head at the same time? Is that?
So, yes, because of the fact that we have a constitution that grants people the right to be stupid. Unfortunately, they have the right to be stupid. And we have an obligation as Christians to help curb society to be better. They do have a right to do it. It's weird. I don't agree with it. I think that it's immoral. But
is it contradictory, do you think, the biblical claims and the LGBT claims?
In which manner? Can you give me an example?
So like you said, I was saying, like, can you hold everything the Bible claims in your head and everything that the LGBT movement claims in your head at the same time? And you were kind of saying, well, it sounded like you're saying, well, you can, like, legally you have the right to, but
Right.
Is that, like, can you actually logically combine those, do you think? I mean, because some people, yes, but I want to see what you think.
No, you can't. Their position isn't one that is of a Christian faith. Okay, so
Okay,
they don't go together.
Okay.
Legally, lawfully, constitutionally, in this country, they have the right to
Sure.
pretend to be both.
Sure. Okay, got it.
Okay.
And are you sure the Bible said, where does it say, do you know, that you can't do the LGBT stuff?
Well, God grants us free will. You absolutely can do it, but that doesn't.
Right, but where does it say you shouldn't, do you know?
No.
It's because you read the Constitution too much.
Because I read the Constitution too much.
All right. You got something?
Yeah, no, final question. I mean, what do you say to people when they come at you and say, you know what, doesn't God tell you not to judge? You should not judge. Why are you judging us when, we have the freedom? Mm-hmm. What do you say to those people?
Judgment and not condoning something are two different things. Okay? I don't have to judge somebody, and I can still tell them that what they're doing is wrong or unsafe, not the best choice. That's not judgment. Okay? It was the same thing with people who chose to wear masks. It's not good for you. I'm not going to celebrate it for you. You absolutely have the right to wear one. If you like wearing face diapers, go for it. I'm not judging you. You have the right to. Okay? But I don't have to prop it up on a pedestal and pretend that it's a wonderful thing and hurrah you along as you go. I don't have that obligation.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad you asked that question. That's a really good question. There's a part in Paul's letter to the Roman church, like it starts in chapter 1 and then I think it goes into chapter 2. It's the main place where in the Bible where it sort of lays out that, the homosexual lifestyle is wrong. And then like the next thing he says is all this other stuff is wrong too. Murder and disobeying your parents and lying and cheating, stealing. So like it's this whole list of just nasty stuff. And then like the next thing he says to his audience, he's writing to the church in Rome, he says, and who are you to judge? You guys do the same stuff. So it's like the very next thing he says. So it's kind of a weird response to be like, well, you shouldn't judge. Like I agree. The guy where I'm getting this information about LGBT and how to kind of take it agrees with you, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's not judgment. You are allowed to tell somebody that you don't agree with them and not be judging.
I think I might agree with you. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to the Pride Festival, Pride Parade. You going?
I am not tomorrow. I have work, but
sounds like a blast, doesn't it?
I moderate posts for True Social. I see all the terrible, horrible things people do all day long.
Do you think people will be as nice to us?
No.
You don't?
Nope. I have been forewarned by the gay conservatives that are amongst our group that going to the Pride event is a dangerous decision, that while we have no intention and we would not do anything wrong or incite any sort of violence, that those that oppose us don't care.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your prayers. If you could ask them anything or tell them anything, what would it be?
Everything's going to be okay.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much for
For
your
sure.
time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
To meet you.
You as well. Thank you, guys.